Yo, what's up Food Fanatics, and welcome to another video. This is, I think, the first video that I am sitting like this, that I am starting it off in my apartment. You see, it's really cold outside. It's absolutely freezing. My hands are red. I can't feel my nose. So for today's video, I wanted to just shoot it inside from the get-go, especially because here in Istanbul, we cannot sit in restaurants yet, so we kind of went back into like a little mini lockdown. And basically what that means is the only food you can take and order is stuff for takeaway. So what I wanted to do in today's video is show you guys Turkish desserts. What kind of Turkish desserts you can order, different things we can try. I've got like, I don't know how many dishes here with me. So I kind of wanted to do a very quick video, just jump into it right away, maybe like in one shot, where I basically start sampling some of these different desserts we have over here and show you guys what you can expect when you're in Istanbul. So without further ado, I've got my fork, I've got my spoon, let's eat. First thing I'm gonna dig into is this thing that's filled with cream. It is, I almost want to say like very syrupy. You can kind of see it here. It's very syrupy, it's very moist, it's got a little cream layer. It's quite soft as well. So I want to take my first bite. I want to see what it is, what it tastes like. And okay, it's kind of a little bit hard to cut into. Maybe it's my weak plastic fork, but so I'm gonna take a big bite. Take a look at this. Oh wow. Okay.
Let's go in for my first bite.
Wow. Sweet, creamy, has a honey kick to it. It's been soaked in syrup. You guys can see like how wet it's glazing. So it's been soaked in this syrup. It's not too sweet, but it is very moist because I guess the cake layer has absorbed it. And then you taste the cream, which is very rich, very heavy, very yummy, and it's just such a good combination and mixture of the two. So you only get a couple of tastes, which is pretty much, you know, the soaked up cake layer with the cream as well, and it has a bit of that like sweet, natural honey taste to it. So let me take a second bite. So it's very sweet, very yummy. The cream is not too thick. It has a very subtle taste, so it just kind of like melts in your mouth as you're taking a few bites. And then, you know, the mixture of the cream with the honey and with that syrupy cake layer mixes really well all together in your mouth, and it gives you like that burst of flavor that's not too heavy, but it is almost like subtle, but it does have a kick to it. So good. Okay, now the next thing, what we have are these sugar balls. I almost want to say they look like a little donut, and pretty much they seem quite syrupy as well. They're heavy, so like it weighs quite a bit. It's quite heavy. It seems very doughy. Doesn't really have a smell to it, but I'm very curious what these are. I imagine it's gonna be sugary. Let's see. Wow. They're very soft, and once you take a few bites, it almost like explodes in your mouth because it's very juicy, and it's filled with like syrup on the inside. There's no cream or anything like that, and it's quite, the texture of it is like quite soft and fluffy. The taste is a syrup, but they've added something to it, and it tastes very, I almost want to say fruity. Let me take a second bite. Let me see what it's like. It has a bit of that orange kick to it. The syrup is not too sweet, it's not too heavy, it's very watery as well. That's how the syrup inside of it is. It's quite yummy, quite interesting. Not the dessert I would expect it to be. I thought it would be like a lot crunchier and thicker and a lot more chewy, but it's very runny. And you just taste a bit of that cinnamon. Delicious. Okay, now next up what we have is this cold pudding. And I don't know if you guys can see. I really have no idea what it is. It's quite heavy. It's very yellow. I don't know what the yellow or the orange is. It's got a few pomegranate seeds on the top of it. It looks super delicious and thick. And it's very wobbly as well. It's, yeah, transport. So I imagine it's some kind of a pudding. And I am really curious to see what the yellow stuff is. So I'm just gonna grab my spoon over here. Let's dig into that first bite. Let's see what it is. I wonder what it's gonna taste like. The texture is very jelly-like. You guys can see here. It's very jelly-like. I'm so curious. Whoa, it's strange. I don't know what it is. I really can't make out what this is. It's quite odd. Very strange. Okay, so I grabbed my phone. I did a bit of research to see what this is because this is very strange to me. No wonder I didn't know what it is because I never thought this would be in a dessert. But basically, it's called Zerde and it is a delicious Turkish pudding-like dessert that's made with rice, pine nuts, turmeric, and saffron as well. So that's what this is. So when I'm taking bites, I'm tasting something crunchy on the inside. So it's a bit of pomegranate, but then as well, there's a bit of rice, and some of the crunch actually came from pine nuts. Now, the taste was very strange because I've never really had saffron in a dessert. And then apparently they also add some turmeric to it and the saffron, which makes sense as to why it's yellow. Definitely not curry. At first I was wondering if it was that. So it's tasty. It's very different than anything I've tasted. I'm gonna take one last bite here. Okay. It almost tastes like a biryani rice dish, but they've turned it into a sweet dessert. Now I definitely understand what I'm biting. This really surprised me. This is very different than anything else I've had. It's very unique. It's very delicious. You must try it. It's not the greatest dessert I've had in Turkey, but it definitely is different than anything else. Like a saffron, turmeric, yellow pudding with pine nuts. So weird. Okay, next bite. You guys know what this is. This is baklava. Now the thing is, I'm gonna do an entire video about baklava here in Turkey, where to eat it, what to have it. But for those of you guys that don't know, this is baklava. It's multi-layered phyllo dough. It can be stuffed with pistachio, walnuts, and sometimes some other kind of nuts depending on the country. This is quite common in Turkey, Greece, Middle East, and I'm sure many other places you can find it. It's very thick. I'm gonna take a piece. I've had this, you've had this, everyone's had this. We've tried it in a million different countries. Let me quickly show you what it looks like. You can see all these layers. You can see, the cashew nuts, the walnuts, or the pistachio in it usually. This one is with walnuts. So let's take in that first bite. Wow. Crunchy, sweet, not too sweet because this one's not very doused in syrup. Usually in Turkey they love dousing in syrup. Like I said, guys, I'm gonna make an entire video on baklava in Istanbul. I'm gonna go in for that second bite. So good, so yummy. Because I only got 3 pieces, I didn't get it from the most reputable basically sweets vendor. So I'm gonna leave that until the next video I make that's gonna be fully about baklava and such. Stay tuned for that one. But you must try this. It's crunchy, it's sweet. It's not too stuffed with walnuts. Usually other places they'll add a thick layer of walnuts, pistachio. It's a lot more colorful. I like how little syrup they've covered this with. Other places make it, you know, they really douse it in syrup and it ends up being way too sweet and it sort of puts you off from eating more. But these ones, it opens up your appetite because it's not too sweet. So you kind of just want to like snack on it a bit here and there. Let me go in for another bite. I'm gonna one bite this one. Super yummy, super good. As Turkish as it gets, very traditional. Without a doubt, you're gonna be trying this when you are here. Last bite, and let's jump to the next one. Okay, next one, very different. We have what looks like a fruit here. I hope it's not a vegetable. Definitely a fruit. From the looks of it, it looks to be a peach. And then there is some crushed walnuts on top of it. I can smell it. It has a strong smell. It also looks like it's a bit dried up in a way. And it's almost like it has that syrupy glaze on top. I'm not sure what to make of this because it looks held together. There's no juice dripping from it. So let's take a bite. That's a pumpkin. Oh, I got that so wrong. Pumpkin, a sugar layer on top of it, a bit of the walnuts that give it that, you know, crunchy texture. I realize this explains why it like looks held together. It's not like dripping juice or syrup. It's because it's a pumpkin, meaning it's very mushy. At first I thought I was eating a sweet potato, but absolutely not. This is not what I expected. It tastes good if you're into pumpkins and stuff, but I'm not. So let me take another bite. I want to give it a fair shot here. Not my favorite thing. Not what I expect in a dessert. Quite strange. If you are in Turkey, go ahead, try this when you see it. If you are into pumpkins and you want to try something, a little vegetable-based dessert, but for me, not the most ideal. Next bite. Okay, so for the next bite, what we have here is what looks like a cake. I see this quite commonly in Turkey. I don't think it's Turkish because it's not, you know, an Eastern style or whatever. So I don't know if you guys can see without me dropping a bit of this stuff. I'm gonna take a guess at what this is. And the reason I know this is because growing up in Canada, I had a lot of Colombian friends. And I used to go to their houses and they would feed me something that looked very similar to this. I think that this is the tres leches, which is the 3 milk cake where, I don't know, they cover it with like 7 different types of milk or whatever. Obviously 3. So let's take the first bite. Just as I dig in my fork, you can see it is so moist. It is very, very wet. And then it is covered and absorbed, I think, a lot of fluid, specifically the milk. So I'm just gonna take a bit of my bite here. It's got a bit of like a layer on top. It looks like a caramel sugar layer, so let's see. Whoa, wow, so good, yeah. Caramel layer on top gives it so much flavor, that brown sugar. And then you have the cake at the bottom, and then the cake has a lot of milk. So it's very sweet, but it's a really good combination because it's not just the sugar, it's the brown sugar that gives it that very different taste than anything I've had before. So yummy, so good. And then, you know, the milk in it is what makes sure that your mouth doesn't go dry from all the sugar. I want another bite. This is delicious. Whoa. Well and truly, that layer of caramel you see here makes this dish so different than anything else I've had. Whoa. I can't stop eating. This is delicious. What I like is that the milk is not heavy. You know, it's not full fat milk or such. It's very runny. It tastes really well when the layer of cake is absorbing all that milk, and then you have that caramel. And then once you chew, that caramel is obviously dissolving with the milk in your mouth, and then, you know, the flavor hits all your taste buds. It's absolutely delicious. I am gonna take the last bite here. Let's move on. Okay, moving on. Next thing, we have this thing that is called the Kadayıf, or Kadayıf in Arabic. Let me show you what this looks like. So we've got the dessert here. It's this, you know, thick layer, this thick kind of, you know, piece of almost angel hair vermicelli with some pistachio on top. It's fried, and then I don't know if you guys can see in the middle, but it's stuffed with walnuts actually. It looks very yummy. It feels syrupy. It's sticky in my hands. So, let's take the fork and let's take that first bite. Let's see how it is. It's a bit hard. You know what? I'm just gonna eat it with my hands actually. I'm gonna be a little bit uncivilized. I like eating with my hands. And let's take that first bite. Let's see what it's like. Crunchy, toasty, because the vermicelli had been kind of like baked from the top as well and the bottom. There's a small layer of the walnuts that are crushed up, so you get like a subtle flavor the more and more you chew. It's sweet because from that syrup, and you can kind of feel it at the bottom of it. You can see that it is, you know, kind of looks very shiny. It's glazing. That's all from the syrup. You don't really taste the pistachio that you see on top of this. I'm gonna go in for my second bite. It's good. It's yummy. Very traditional. Sweet. My only thing is that it feels quite chewy. They could have done with a thinner layer of the vermicelli and adding a lot more walnuts. That would have given it so much more taste. The pistachio, you don't really taste it because you're chewing a lot of the vermicelli. You have the walnuts, you have the syrup. You know, I think that the pistachio on the top is just for presentation. Let me take my last bite and let's move on. Wow. Okay, and lastly, my beautiful ladies and gentlemen, my food fanatics, we have this thing. Unless you've been to Turkey, you're never gonna be able to guess what this is. Take a look at it, take a guess, and I'll tell you what this is. This is a chicken breast pudding. Apparently, it doesn't taste like chicken. You don't taste any of the chicken. They get the chicken breast, and they grind it so much so just so that it gives it a texture. And then they obviously kind of cook it up with some milk, and they make the pudding, and then they cover it with cinnamon. I want to have it my first taste. I want to see what this is like, and I want to see how good this is. So it's a thick, oh wow, it's a very thick pudding. Look at this. Ooh, it's very stretchy. It's heavy. Let's go in. Let's see what this is like. Whoa. Whoa. So yummy. It's so good. It's so milky and creamy. It's so stretchy. It's like a very thick, elasticy pudding. You don't even taste anything related to chicken. So I think it just gives it, holds it together and gives it that texture. There's so much cinnamon on my thing. That gives it a lot of flavor as well. It tastes very milky and cinnamony, but in a very like stretchy, elasticy, chewy way. I'm gonna go in for my second bite. This is such a surprise. Wow. Whoa. That is so good. It's very creamy and almost like vanilla-like a little bit. With a lot of cinnamon on it, gives it so much flavor. So tasty. This is baffling that there's chicken in this, supposedly. It's good. This is such next level like pudding skills. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna take in my like third bite. Just look at this when I'm like taking a chunk of it. What? Oh man, it's so good. It's so stringy. And the cinnamon with the pudding, it's such a good combination. And it's not heavy, it's not too sweet, it's a very subtle dessert taste. This is like something grandma would cook for you when you go. I'm dead serious. This is such a like grandma food on special occasions. Very yummy and such. I'm gonna take in my last bite. So good, so satisfying. It melts in your mouth. So tasty. It feels light. It feels like a dessert you want to get when you're having a dessert craving, but you won't feel guilty about it, and it doesn't, you know, it won't weigh you down and you won't regret it later. And it's very tasty, and it seems like such a homemade kind of dessert, I almost want to say. It's very delicious. So good. I'm so happy I end off like the video with this one because it's absolutely delicious. I hope you guys liked the video. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thank you for understanding for the fact that I'm shooting this at home because of what's happening in Turkey, and the fact that, you know, we can't eat in at restaurants, and also just the fact that it's cold outside and I can't really film on the street when my bald head is freezing. Stay tuned for the next video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bon appetit!